Hello, and welcome to the WWIA Podcast. We're honored to have you join us in our mission to bring honor, connection, and healing to America's combat-wounded Purple Heart heroes. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, we welcome you. If you're a returning listener, thanks for coming back. Please be sure to tell others about our podcast and leave us a review if you're enjoying what you're hearing. On today's episode, we're proud to introduce you to one of our incredible Purple Heart heroes and a certified WWIA guide, Mr. Derek VanBuren. Derek grew up with a love for hunting, fishing, and trapping from an early age, and his passion for all things outdoors continues to this day. While attending college, he worked as a hunting guide, which broadened his interest in hunting, especially bow hunting. Derek joined the Army in July of 1998 and was deployed to Afghanistan from November 2008 until July 2009. While deployed, he and other members of his crew were wounded by an RPG during an intense firefight. He then spent time in Lundstuhl, Germany, Walter Reed Army Hospital, and the Warrior Transition Unit while recovering from wounds for which he received the Purple Heart Medal. Derek attended his first WWIA event at Camp Hackett, Wisconsin in the fall of 2010, and has been a valuable part of the WWIA team ever since. Today, he lives in Michigan with his wife Katie and two children, Eli and Amelia. He enjoys stream fishing for brook trout, fishing Lake Superior for lake trout, predator hunting, grouse and small game hunting, bow hunting of all kinds, and most anything outdoors. Let's jump right in and join the conversation with John and Derek.
Hi, I'm John McDaniel. I'm the founder and CEO of the Wounded Warriors in Action Foundation, and this is our podcast, Honor, Connect, and Heal. And I have a very special guest with me today, somebody that I've known for 13 some odd years, and his name is Derek VanBuren. And Derek is a soldier in the Army, and he's been soldiering for 24 plus years. And he hails from the UP of Michigan. And I'd like to welcome you to the program, Derek. How are you?
I'm good, John. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm excellent. Excellent. Well, we certainly appreciate your time today and all the service. You know, for those that don't know, I'll set this up for you. You know, Derek, and I met, like I said, 13 years ago, and he's with a unit. It's the 1431st, or he was a combat engineer unit. Are you still with that unit today? Is that the same one you went to combat with?
No, actually, I'm with a support unit out of Marquette, Michigan now. I was with them for roughly 8 years.
Okay. Yeah, so Derek's a Purple Heart recipient. He's a staff sergeant, E6, with 24 years of service. I've known him for 13 years. He and, a handful of guys, Dan Berryman, Frenchie, Matt and Lyle Spurge, all these guys that are, that you introduced me to, and one of them, I think it might have been Lyle that introduced me to you. I can't remember how that worked. It was 13 years ago, but you all were in the same unit. Is that correct?
Yes, we were all part of the same route clearance battalion at that time.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, the combat engineers, these great Americans go out, and essentially they do all kinds of things, from constructing roads to finding, IEDs, demolitions. I mean, the combat engineers, God bless them, take it in the teeth, quite a bit, especially in this modern day, battlefield that we find, present with, improved explosive devices, vehicle-borne devices, et cetera, all this, horrific stuff that is happening on the battlefield today. The combat engineers are often leading the way, and you guys, your unit, found themselves in a bit of a buzzsaw, if you will. What time frame was that where you guys had that deployment that didn't go so well?
So we were in eastern Afghanistan in 2009. Paktika province specifically is where we were located. And it wasn't uncommon. It was a pretty, normal thing to roll outside the wire and deal with either some kind of contact, anything from pot shots to well-organized ambushes, complex ambushes, IEDs, things of that nature. We dealt with the Haqqani network of the Taliban where we were at. They were made kind of popular on the national news from the Bo Bergdahl capture. That's what they were well known for. And that's kind of the area we were in, where the 25th Infantry Division operated out of at that time. So,
is that who you guys were supporting, the 25th Infantry?
Correct. We were with typically we were with the 3rd of the 509th Infantry, where we were at in Orkney, and most of the time when we rolled out, we had some element of theirs with us. Yeah, that was typically what our mission was clearing the way for them or MPs or whoever was rolling behind us at that time.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. We'll get back to that. I didn't want to get too deeply into that just yet. To kind of set the stage a little bit more for our listening audience. Derek is an avid sportsman. Like I said, I met him 13 years ago. He's been supporting the foundation ever since. He's a Purple Heart recipient, combat wounded, and I think. But most everybody who lives up in the UP of Michigan is, I don't want to say most everybody, but it's not uncommon to be a sportsman, is it?
No,
most of your friends and folks that live up there?
You're correct. It's a way of life. I'm certainly a product of my environment. Growing up hunting,
I love it.
Hunting and fishing. Some of the big things I'm into that's uncommon in other parts of the country, ice fishing, right? It's February right now. Ice fishing's going on, and we go out on Lake Superior and night fish for whitefish, lake trout, things like that. So that's just a normal thing for us. Everybody does it. Obviously white-tailed deer hunting's big, grouse hunting, the same stuff that you grew up doing in Wisconsin. It's pretty similar to what we do in the UP.
Yeah.
Just a little further north and maybe a little more snow, maybe a little colder. But it's
yeah, well, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying it's just what it's our way of life up here, hunting and fishing. So it's just like I said, it's just something that I've done far back as I can remember.
I love it. I tell you, for those, obviously this is a podcast, so they can't see what I see, which is I see you on the other side. We got video going here too. Just how it works. So we're running the podcast. We can see each other, and behind Derek, for those that can't see, is a corner that's just filled with there. I see a pheasant, I see a trout, I see a turkey, I see a white-tailed deer. These are all animals that are, hanging on his wall behind him. Must be your man cave. And then there's a trap. I know you're a trapper. I'm a trapper. Yeah, there they go. Nice. He just gave me a good shot. He moved out of the way. That looks like a perfect man cave. So you're a very successful outdoor sportsman. It's funny you mentioned ice fishing because my boys, I have two young boys, and I know you've got a son and a daughter. We'll talk about them in a minute, but you mentioned ice fishing, and my boys have a spring break coming up, and I told them, I said, hey, what do you guys think about going ice fishing? They're like, ice fishing? I go, yeah. The water up north, it freezes. Now my boys are 8 and 6, so they're young. As you know, the water up there, and we live in Florida, so they've never seen like hard water, ice, on a lake or a body of water. And so this idea of getting on a frozen body of water and drilling holes, because they're avid fishermen, drilling holes and catching fish through the ice is something that I'm very excited about doing. So, excuse me, when you mention ice fishing, my ears certainly perked up. So, that's something that's, I grew up doing, and I would like to, I want to turn my boys onto that so they have some stories and some memories. But, yeah, super cool. So, speaking of children, you have a son, Eli, who's, I've seen on social media, who's a football player. He's 18 years old, right?
Yes, sir.
And tell me about Eli. What's next for this guy?
So he's in his senior year of high school. He was on their high school football team. One of the main players on the team, played tight end on offense, linebacker on defense, and he just had a really good year. He made all district, all region. He made all state in the coaches poll.
Wow.
And the media poll in his district. So he was very, very much a standout football player, and is looking at playing college ball at the Division II level locally here at our local college. There's been a few of them that have been talking to him and want to recruit him to come and play. So yeah, that's his thing. He's definitely an athlete. Also is big into wrestling. They're in the middle of that season right now too. And 3.0 student, does fairly well in school, and pretty proud of him. And obviously his hobbies growing up are hunting and fishing, which doesn't come as a big surprise. He loves to deer hunt.
Right.
He loves fishing. He's big into bass fishing. He's really taken a liking to that. That's a big one for him. So. Yeah, and
smallmouth or largemouth or both?
Mostly largemouth. He likes the largemouth. Go after largemouth because we have a few lakes where, and I think there are a lot more largemouth in them. So that's what we go after a lot.
Excellent. And you have a daughter, Amelia, right? She's 15.
Yep, she's a sophomore, and she's big into the band. She loves playing the drums. And she's been doing that for a couple of years. And she's not big into hunting yet, but maybe someday we'll get her into getting in a tree stand or get her out in a blind or something like that. But for now, she's into playing in the band and raising chickens and doing things of that nature.
So you guys got plenty of fresh eggs all the time.
Oh yeah, plenty of fresh eggs. All the neighbors love us.
Oh, that's great. Let's talk a little bit about the the foundation here, and then I think we'll circle back to your combat experience because I want to touch on that story a little bit. But okay, so we've known each other for 13 years. You've been through our guide school. You're one of our certified, registered, guides that runs around out there leading missions. For the foundation. So publicly, I just want to thank you, for all that you've done over the years and leading all the missions that you have. Do you have any idea, approximately how many missions you've been on?
Oh,
for the foundation?
Wow. I can't say that I have a number in my head, how many it's been. But, I guess it'd probably be around
dozens.
Easily dozens, for sure. For sure, there would have been dozens.
Easily dozens. Probably. Probably. I mean, if you've been with us doing missions, just say for 10 years, you've been with the organization, plus minus for 13. And if you did, 4 or 5. You probably did more when we had less guides, but you're probably close to 50 anyway. It's a lot,
Sure.
and so I wanted you to describe for everybody, please, what a typical mission looks like. I mean, what happens on a typical WWIA mission, from your perspective?
Well, the first thing that usually happens is I make contact with the host, and we talk about what we're going to be doing, whether it be, hunting, fishing, and what the schedule will look like. Once I do that, I contact the heroes, and we talk about, if they have any concerns or questions on anything as far as the event goes, how they plan on arriving, what time they plan on arriving, things like that. And I give them expectations kind of on what to sort of expect. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we meet up at the event, and I serve as kind of like a liaison between the host and the heroes, and it typically every event is awesome.
But you're doing these events all around the country. These aren't just missions in your backyard in the UP of Michigan. These are missions. I mean, just give us a sample set of the places that that you've been to across the country doing this mission.
At the West Coast, I've been to Oregon. I've been down south to Alabama. Out on the East Coast, Virginia, New York, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin many times. Love our Wisconsin.
Yeah.
South Dakota. Wow. Texas, all over the country.
Have you been to Alaska yet with us?
No, I have not. I haven't been to Alaska event. Okay. Would definitely welcome that. Wow. That's a great place.
Yeah, right. No, for sure. Okay, well, so there you go. All over the place, hunting and fishing, leading these missions. Let me ask you, why are you doing it? You served our country, you got wounded, you're still wearing a uniform, you're getting ready to retire after 24 years of service to our nation, and you find time, in your busy schedule to lead these missions with other combat wounded. Why are you doing this?
Well, first of all, John, I'd like to say thank you for bringing me in to be part of this amazing team of guides and Purple Heart recipients that I get to do this with. And that's really the main reason why. It's a crazy thing. Growing up, I've always been so into hunting, especially hunting, and dreamed of traveling around and getting to do kind of what I'm doing. And to be able to spend time with fellow Purple Heart recipients, get to hear their stories, get to spend time with them, and have the common interest of doing these outdoor activities. It's really a special thing. And it even, I've spent time with folks that are doing it for the first time, and it's like a new hobby for them, and that's special in its way. And then I've spent time with folks that heroes that have done it their whole lives, kind of like me, grew up hunting and fishing, and both of those are just super special. And building these friendships and having this network around the country of fellow outdoorsmen with these similar experiences. It's really why I do it. And getting to share this with them is just amazing. And I just love it. I really do. And like I said, I've been doing this with you for a long time. So, each event is like, it's brand new to me, and it never gets old. And it's funny, I was on a deer hunt this past fall, and, I said that to one of the guys that I was hunting with, one of the heroes. I said, this never gets old. This is always fun every single time. So, like I said, it's just awesome. I love it.
Well, that's great. I would say when I was starting this thing, some 17 years ago, I used to ask that question, a lot to guys before we had guides, like professional guides like yourself doing this. When we were much smaller, it was, just me running around doing it. and I used to ask the guys, okay, so hey, give me something to talk about, If I'm standing up in front of a crowd, telling them what's going on, they would say this, that, and the other thing. And I always put that ammunition in my bandolier for future use. And, well, one of the things they always, most all of them would say is, yeah, and don't forget to tell them it's fun. And that always resonated with me. And that's, one of the things you just said is, it's fun for you. You enjoy it. It's fresh. It never gets old. You have common interests. There's travel involved, an adventure and seeing new places and meeting new people and that have common interest, right? I'm just summarizing what you said. And those things are all very powerful things because what they do is they lead to powerful memories, powerful, positive memories, which, hopefully, begin to take the place of things where in events where maybe there wasn't such, positive memories, and that happens especially to, combat wounded men and women who've been there and done that. They've got some memories that they'd like to let go of, but, they're not so easy to let go of. But, if you think about it like a bucket, right? And, in that bucket are, there's lots of stuff in that bucket, in the memory bucket. But the more positive, memories that you can add to that bucket, the more positivity in general. People, places, things, it begins to, those positive memories begin to take over the bad. That's what I think. So I think that's a big part of it as well. So that's wonderful. Excuse me. Let me ask you, to go back a little bit, to Afghanistan in 2009. You're Frenchie, who's, one of our, John French, who's, was in your unit, is another guide. The UP of Michigan has produced some amazing heroes. Dan Berryman's with the foundation as a guide. You're with the foundation as a guide. Frenchie's with the foundation as a guide. And you guys have all just, done amazing things. I mean, I'd bet the farm on all you guys at any second. I would say, hey, what are the tough jobs? Give them to those guys right there, because they're the ones, that are going to make great things happen. Yeah, but I can depend on you guys all the time, every time, and for that I'm very, very thankful. Because you strengthen the mission set, your presence, your leadership, your devotion to duty in this country and those that we serve, continue to serve, is amazing. And I want to thank you. You thanked me. Well, I came here to thank you, to thank you for what you've done, not just for the country while you're wearing a uniform, but what you've done afterwards. And to me, that's leadership. Yeah, you guys are doing some fun things. You're hunting and fishing, but that's what it looks like from the outside. From the inside, it looks a lot different. If you're there on the mission, if you're rubbing elbows, with these great Americans, that perspective looks a lot different than, we're just here hunting or fishing. So, but let's go back to Afghanistan for a second. And if you would, I don't want to put you on the spot, but, if you would describe, because I know you and Frenchie were together, right, when this happened, when you guys got hurt. Is that true?
Yep, that is true. Frenchie was the gunner on the gun truck that I was in, and I was his TC, team chief, and I was also a squad leader on that at that time. So yeah, we were together. And you can imagine what
when you say gun truck. When you say gun truck, what do you mean?
It's called an RG-31. It's basically a MRAP vehicle. It's made to sustain a blast.
Right.
Yeah. So we were in the interrogation part of the route clearance package. So I was in charge of the two Husky drivers. Those are interrogation vehicle. I'm sorry, not interrogation, but detecting vehicles. The Buffalo, you may have heard of. It's the the bigger
Oh yeah.
truck. It doesn't have any weapons on it, but it has a big arm that they use to dig and a camera and things like that. Yeah. So, yeah.
To find mines, right? To find IEDs. Isn't that what that thing does?
Yes, it looks for improvised explosive devices. Most of what we ran into were command wire IEDs. So someone who doesn't understand what that means, it's basically an improvised explosive device, usually made from some kind of homemade explosive, and they might throw in like a rocket or something like that to make it that much more lethal, dangerous, whatever you want to call it. And they run a wire, hundreds of meters away, and there's a bad guy sitting there on, we'll say, a mountaintop, and he touches it together to something as simple as a battery, and that would be enough to cause a charge that would set that IED to go off. And that's typically what we would run into. Other things they call pressure plates. I guess it's like a trap, right? There's a trigger, you just push down on it, and it would set it off, or say like a tripwire type setup, things like that. So that's just kind of a background of the kind of IEDs that we would look for in Afghanistan. Very rocky area, so we could kind of figure out where the IEDs were going to be at, because there'd be softer soil or whatnot, typically, or a culvert or things like that is usually where they would set them up. Just little things that we would learn over time as from doing the job over there. It's kind of crazy how quickly you can learn about your environment and finding things like that where we were at. So,
especially when your life depends on it, literally.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you learn real fast. This is good. This is bad, and everything's a 1 or a 0, right? I mean, you get dialed in like you've never been dialed in before.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like they would set up target things as a target, right? So we could be in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden you look over to your right and you see, well, that's odd to see 3 trees perfectly lined up toward that mountaintop over there. And you figure it out real quick. Yeah, there just might be something right there, and sure enough, we'd find an IED. Those are like their target sticks to pinpoint where we were at, so that they set off the explosive device at the right time. There's just things like that, just to kind of give you an idea of what it was like.
Yeah, I mean, what's the same and what's different? I mean, this idea of change detection, there's something in this environment, something in this scene, something in my view that's not normal, it's not right, and it's an outlier. In other words, it's the power of thinking without thinking. After a while, if it doesn't look right and feel right and smell right, it's not right.
Yep.
And that right there, once you learn that skill set and you learn it in an environment like that, it never leaves you. It never leaves you. And you talk about imprinting. I mean, that's just crazy. Your life literally depends on that, and so does the lives of others, especially those that you're leading. I didn't mean to hijack your story, but I just gotta, this idea of change detection. What's the same and what's different? It's just a critical set for survival, right? Skill set for survival in combat. Go ahead, buddy.
So yeah, like I said, that's typically how we did things. And I guess I'll move forward to July 19th, 2009, when we were doing our mission that particular day. It was a movement to contact type mission. Our plan that day was to roll into an area, dismount, get up in the mountains, and go after the bad guys where we were at, because that was going to be a little bit better than what we were, doing, where we would roll through the ambush area with these, pretty well protected vehicles and firing back at them, and it was kind of getting to be very routine. So we wanted to change it up and really go after them and get these guys. But what had happened that particular day, they got the jump on us. They started firing at us early on. You know, AK-47s, you know, you name it. They were firing at us pretty well, and firing RPGs, indirect fire, things of that nature. So we were probably a half hour into this firefight. Frenchie was up on the top. He had a Mark 19, big grenade launcher. He had his 240 Bravo up there, as a secondary weapon, and he was just rocking it, giving them the bad guys all he could. And we were rolling through, and things were kind of a lull. I said, Frenchie, it's probably a good time to reload at this time. So he got up there, he faced away from the contact, he reloaded, went to turn, and I'll never forget him. He said he remembers seeing a tracer round go by his hand, and that kind of shocked him, and he started firing again. And at that time, an RPG hit our vehicle. It exploded. It detonated right above me and hit the turret, and went off. And that was the one that got us. We both took shrapnel. Him definitely worse than me, being more exposed. If you ever seen the movie Saving Private Ryan, where Tom Hanks's character experiences that real slow motion after an explosion goes off, that is how I would describe it. Not exactly like the movie, but it was similar. But that's about the closest thing I could come up with to describe what that was like. Everything was slowed down to like real slow pace. Voices slowed down. Everything slowed down. It was different. I've never experienced anything like it since or before that. But basically, that happened. We were able to get out of the kill zone. My driver did an outstanding job. Our communications were knocked out. We couldn't communicate with the rest of the convoy we were with. We had a smoke grenade detonate that was on Frenchie's vest. A piece of shrapnel hit that, so we had green smoke billowing out of the vehicle. That confused a lot of folks. They thought maybe either we were communicating that we were okay. Some may have thought that, or they didn't know what was going on. If the vehicle was on fire, they just thought it was very odd. But eventually, we were able to get into a spot to where we weren't getting fired at. They moved two vehicles to each side of us to kind of block and then get the medic into the vehicle. So it was me and Frenchie were probably the most severely wounded. We had our driver who had a chunk of shrapnel in his leg, which was also the leg he uses to drive, but he was still able to get us out of there, even with the big chunk of metal he had in there. Wow. And then we had a few other people inside the vehicle. A few of them, we had the interpreter. He was in there at that time. We had two other dismounts in the vehicle at the time. But anyway, they got us out of there. They were able to call in the bird to come in, and the Black Hawk to come in and get us out. Once we established security and the firefight had ended, they exfilled and got out of there. There were a few others that were wounded that day. We had a Marine captain that was with the task force that did kind of the forensics for IEDs. He got wounded. It was his last mission, and he decided he wanted to be up in the turret for it. And he took 2 rounds in the arm and 1 in the chest. And he was doing okay. I remember getting on the bird with him, and he was. I remember him grabbing me, and he goes, "We got this, man. We got this." He was all fired up, and I seen him. I still talk to him, Captain Chalace. John Belay, he took a round. He was in another vehicle, and I remember him being wounded. He actually he earned the Bronze Star with Valor for his actions that day, because he took a round to the chest and he just kept firing. And said he remembers bending over and feeling, blood in his vest. And next thing you knew, he woke up, he was in Walter Reed. So that was
wow.
But I know this is a long story. I don't want to, but
no. We're here for it's not a long story, buddy. Okay. It's all good. We're fascinated by it, and so is everybody who's listening to it. Because 99% of the people that are going to listen to this, never saw a combat, and if they did, they didn't see it like you did. So it's all good.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we got back, we got medevaced out, back to Oregony, to Bagram, a stopover in Germany, and then eventually back to Walter Reed. Frenchie and I were pretty much on every flight back, which was great for both of us.
Together.
Yeah, we were together. We were together the whole time.
Yeah.
I think other than the first helicopter ride. But yeah. The flight to Germany, the flight to Walter Reed, the bus ride, the wild bus ride that we had. It was we were always together, so that was good.
Well, that helps, yeah.
Definitely.
I think it was Lyle Spurgeon who got a hold of me from Walter Reed. He wrote a letter, as I remember, and this probably was like 2009, 10. I don't, he was still there. And he mentioned that, a lot of his buddies were still there too. And as I remember it, I was like, hey man, when you guys get out of there and you got some time and you're willing, I'd like to meet you. And, let's get this thing on. And so, but yeah, well, listen, I, genuinely appreciate you, sharing your story with us. It's a very, very, gripping story. And, I always said, man, anybody who bleeds wearing a country's uniform is a hero, period, dot. And I don't care, what kind of medals they hang on you. The Purple Heart medal, is a very, very special medal. And I think General Petraeus said it best. And he said, it's the one medal that's respected by all but sought by none. Nobody wants to get wounded. And those that do, carry with that the scars, both physical and mental scars that go along with having engaged in combat and oftentimes in a horrific scenario. So I mean, you got to be one of the bravest guys I know. You're an amazing sportsman. And you possess a very unique skill set, among other things. And I'm not just talking about your field acumen. That's also part of who you are, but genuinely you're just a wonderful person, and somebody who continues to want to, help others. You're a great dad. You're a great person. You're a great soldier. You're a great leader. And I just want to, thank you for all that you've done, for this country and for the foundation. It means an awful lot to me. I respect you a great deal. I admire you, and I want to, publicly thank you for all that you've done. Everybody who runs into Derek VanBuren, has nothing but positive things to say. I've never heard one bad thing about you ever said, period, dot. And that's testimony to who you really are. And so, thank you for all that you've done, buddy. I genuinely appreciate it. And, I'll give the last word to you.
Well, thank you very much, John. I do appreciate it. And I appreciate getting to be part of something so cool, so positive, and just so great. If you would have told me as a young man, you're going to be in the military, Derek, you're going to get wounded, and that's going to stink. But, there's what you're going to get to do. You're going to get to be part of this awesome foundation that takes, Purple Heart veterans hunting and fishing. I wouldn't have believed you. I absolutely, I love this. I really do. And I appreciate it so much. And, I'm going to continue to appreciate it. It is awesome. And thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. And this is the Honor, Connect, and Heal podcast from the Wounded Warriors in Action Foundation. My wonderful guest, Derek VanBuren, with us today from the UP of Michigan. Derek, best to you. I can't wait to see you in the field again. Thanks for all you've done. And, just best of luck to you, buddy. Genuinely appreciate you.
Thanks, John.
All right. For all those great listeners, all the great listeners out there, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your support, and have a great day.
To learn more about the mission of the Wounded Warriors in Action Foundation and how you can get involved, please visit our website at WWIAF.org or follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Thank you for listening to the WWIA Podcast and for helping us honor, connect, and heal our combat wounded Purple Heart heroes through the power of the great outdoors.
If you like what you're listening to here and would like to join our team in our mission to bring healing power and recovery to America's Purple Heart heroes, please become part of our Sponsor a Hero team by clicking on the link in the podcast notes or by going to WWIAF.org/sponsor. That's WWIAF.org/sponsor. Our heroes need you now more than ever. Thank you.